What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And this one, I'm going to be breaking down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of tickers out there. I'm going to break down what the news is saying about Tesla that's very important, what the data is suggesting, and also whether or not Tesla is likely going to see a sell-off or not in the near term, in my opinion. Before I break anything down about all this information, though, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And don't forget about the Moomoo link. The offer ends very soon. If you deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks plus a $50 cash reward. The offer ends today in just about 8 hours, so check it out before they run out. And last but not least, don't forget about my stock news channel that I have about Tesla. I'm going to break down some tweets by Elon Musk, what the news is saying about Tesla, and other things like that. So if you want to see this channel or watch any videos, you can check out the link down below. The thing about this is, on this channel, I do talk about Tesla news, but very briefly. I just talk about the main headlines. So on this new channel, I'm going to talk about more specific details about the headlines, more headlines that came out on the sidelines, and also some things about Elon Musk if you're more interested. So check it out if you're interested. Anyways, let's talk about Tesla. How are things looking? So when it comes to Tesla, we have a pretty interesting structure. Tesla is technically on an uptrend as of right now, but the problem I'm still seeing is as this thing is uptrending, the technical bearish signals are still developing, and this makes me a little bit concerned about the way it's looking. We also have some signs of weakness on SPY and also Aapl that could act as anchors for Tesla. So we want to be very careful when it comes to the way we trade this and watch some very critical levels. So I'm going to break down what those levels are and how this will be looking, in my opinion, for the future. But before I do anything like that, let me just mention some things about the news. For tomorrow, we have some more big data coming out. We have the unemployment rate being announced, the non-farm payrolls, and the labor force participation rate. This is all going to be very important for the economy and the markets for tomorrow. This is all coming out 1 hour before the market opens, so it's going to cause the market to either gap up or gap down. This is going to be very big. We also have some governmental payrolls data and all this stuff coming out together. Now, later on, the market's going to open, and then 15 minutes after the market opens, we have the PMI report coming out for the S&P Global Manufacturing. And then more manufacturing data coming out at about 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, or 30 minutes after the market opens. So it's quite simple. 1 hour before 1 hour, before the market opens, we have the unemployment data. 15 minutes after the market opens, we have the PMI report, and then 30 minutes after open, we have even more manufacturing data. All of this is going to cause some volatility, but the most important thing is going to be the unemployment numbers. So make sure you're ready for this. This is going to shake the markets to some extent. Now, when it comes to other things coming out, we also have some earnings coming out right now, such as like Dell's earnings. But besides that, there's nothing else coming out for Friday. So in case you're interested, this is what the earnings chart is looking like. For Tesla, there's some news coming out that Tesla's facing the DOJ. The SEC probes are once again just investigating Elon Musk and some potential plans for him to build some kind of like large glass house. Elon Musk has denied this so far, saying that he's not planning on even doing this and that they don't truly understand what that means. And it's very, very interesting so far. Now, Elon Musk, he has a tendency of being investigated by the NHTSA, the SEC, and all these different entities. Same thing with Tesla. And we'll see if anything comes from this. But so far, with this going on, I'm not really seeing this negatively affecting Tesla so far. We'll see if anything develops. There's also this news right here that Tesla has cut prices on the Model 3 inventory in the US by up to about $5,500. And as of right now, I know it claims this may not be 100% guaranteed, but this Model 3 model is going to be selling for about $37,000, which is not bad. And that's before the federal tax credit. So more cuts have been made to the Tesla Model 3. They're trying to get rid of some of their inventory, and it's very important with the new updates that came out in Shanghai. You can see the inventories are very high for the Model Y. It's continuing to soar. Same thing with the X and the S, but the Model 3 is a little bit down right now, which is a decent sign. But it's quite evident that with this much inventory that's going up, something is going on, and it's clear that the economy is likely playing a massive role in this. It's not just because of production, or it's not just because of them just like producing so much more than before. I don't think that's very probable as the case. The entire inventory levels are just continuing to go up and skyrocket because I think demand is really starting to slow down in this economy. There is news that came out yesterday that the GDP numbers have likely dropped for the second quarter. The estimates ended up dropping, and there's contraction in the economy that's affecting many different industries. Tesla warned us about this earlier, and it's still continuing to show. Now, we have something new. Another analyst known as Guggenheim, they're saying you should sell your Tesla shares. They're reiterating a sell rating for Tesla, saying that Tesla's overvalued, and they believe that there is going to be a correction very soon. Now, could they be correct about that? That's up to you to decide. That's up to the technicals, but we'll find out, especially going into tomorrow, as we have some new signals developing. Now, Tesla is looking relatively strong compared to the market as of right now. We closed pretty well for it, and the price price ratio is holding up quite nicely. On top of this, I just wanted to mention that Fridays tend to be green about 49% of the time, and we tend to see more volatility during the second hour of the trading day or at about 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, and also during about 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, we tend to see more volatility, more green for Tesla during those hours. Now, September tends to be a little bit weaker for Tesla historically. We're starting September tomorrow in the USA. This is going to be interesting for Tesla, but don't forget the end of the year tends to be stronger for them, especially the month of November. So we could be set for a very, very nice run to end the year. But before that happens, Tesla is being shorted a little bit more. We have about almost 38 million Tesla shares shorted just 2 days ago. So more shorts are starting to pile in, and they may be thinking something, they may be knowing something with all this negative news about the SEC and these investigations. 108 million was the volume, very close to average, which is not bad for Tesla. And the short volume right now is still very flat, not really signifying anything. So let's talk about the market. How are things looking? So Tesla's looking quite okay, trying to hold up and respecting this uptrend as of right now. However, I just wanted to mention to everyone, when you look at the MACD and the RSI, Tesla is still developing a bearish divergence because the MACD is continuing to downtrend. Same thing with the RSI, and Tesla has uptrended 3 times while the RSI is continuing to decline. When this happens, this tends to lead to a sell-off eventually. However, here's how I want you to look at this. Now, in my opinion, there is a high probability of that potentially happening, but we want to watch our levels just to be extra safe. If Tesla holds above 260 for an extended period of time, this is going to be showing some strength, and there's going to be a chance that Tesla could retest like 262.5 to 265. Now, even if Tesla does push up a little bit higher, it could still be developing a bearish divergence. So you want to watch the RSI, meaning there could be a sell-off coming later on anyways, but you want to be watching 260 as resistance. And if it holds that, there could be some more potential momentum for it anyways. Now, if Tesla ends up breaking down, you're going to be watching 257.5 to 255 as supports. As long as we hold above this range, Tesla could continue to range trade just like how it did today, and we might just see some more sideways price action. Tesla didn't really pump insanely hard today. We were pretty much just sideways. We pumped a little bit, came down, pumped, and came down, and then closed very, very flat, just barely in the green. And if Tesla breaks below 255, if that breaks, we could be seeing a rug pull, and Tesla could come all the way down close to about 250 in my opinion. If that fails us, I'm going to be expecting a 200 EMA test at around like 247 to 245. So 255 is going to be our pivot. If it breaks that, it's going to start selling off more. If it holds above that, we could be seeing some sideways price action within this range. And if it breaks above 260, that's going to be like another signal of Tesla potentially trying to push up higher. All right, so those are your very important levels for Tesla. But here's what I think is very probable to play out. So what concerns me about Tesla is going to be the fact that when you look at SPY, right, SPY, look at the daily candle, we have a potential reversal potential like shooting star that could be forming. If that's the case, this could lead to SPY starting to sell off a little bit. You could see we had a weak close. We start to sell off near close. If we break below 450, 448 should come. Don't forget, tomorrow is going to be the last Friday before a long weekend because the stock market is going to be closed for Monday for Labor Day. So this is starting to look a little bit more bearish, right? We had these bearish divergences on SPY, which are starting to play out. I called these out in the morning. If you look at SPY, we had this triple bearish divergence on the MACD and the RSI, and that's starting to play out. Another thing that concerns me for the market is going to be Aapl, at least for the bulls. We have a triple bearish divergence on Aapl. Aapl was trying to continue to pump. Technically, it was green for the day, but if you look at the daily candle, not looking that strong overall, right? We're actually starting to show signs of a doji. If this doji ends up causing a reversal, this could cause the market to reverse too. But here's the thing about it. We have this unfilled gap around this 190 area in the 190s. Could we see this thing pump one more time to 190 and then start dropping? Or is it going to drop from here? I think it's going to be one of those two. Either Aapl tries to pump one more time to 190, then it starts dropping, or it just drops here. And if Aapl starts dropping, I think we have a gap down here. If this gap does end up getting like filled, that's not going to be the best of signs for many of the bulls out there because this could cause the market to actually start sinking. So Aapl is going to be key for tomorrow. It's going to dictate Tesla and everything. You want to be watching that very carefully. All right, so what do I think is very likely though? What do I think is going to happen to Tesla? In my opinion, okay, we may pump in the morning tomorrow. We may see Tesla try to like push up with all the unemployment numbers and etc. But with the triple bearish divergence, okay, I'm not going to promise anything. We just want to watch the levels just for confirmation. But regardless of that, I do believe the odds favor Tesla pulling back either tomorrow or for Tuesday. Now, sometimes these signals could be wrong, but that's very rare. Most of the time they tend to be correct. I think there's a high probability that either tomorrow or for Tuesday, we're going to see a sell off on Tesla. It's going to come all the way back down below 255, back down to 250 or so. Also, it's very suspicious how the short interest on Tesla just went up like crazy to 38 million shares shorted. And then we have these sell signals all developing. Something suspicious is going on. There might be some bad news coming. Maybe they know something. Who knows what's about to happen? We also tried to touch this 261 area, but got rejected at the very end. Could this be a last ditch effort for them to be shorting before they start selling their Tesla shares? It's a real possibility. So my prediction for Tesla is going to be we either gap up or pop in the morning, try to push for this like 260 area. And I think what's going to happen is Tesla's going to end up failing. That's what my best prediction would be either for Friday or as soon as for Tuesday. And we might start to sell off like this, retest 257.5, and we're going to be watching, do we hold 255 or not? We might see something similar to today, if not. And if we end up breaking 255, I would predict we start sinking towards 250 or lower and get a more aggressive sell-off. That's what I would be predicting. If we don't break below 255, then we could just stay range bound. But I am anticipating a red day tomorrow, and I think it's very probable Tesla kind of like gaps up and starts selling off with the market. That's my prediction. If it doesn't happen tomorrow, then it should happen for Tuesday. And I am still leaning more in the direction of that happening, just looking at Apple and these other stocks. Now, just for a couple of other references, I think I already talked about like SPY in enough detail. I don't need to go into too much detail about SPY. But anyways, for SPY, we got this bearish looking candle. It's starting to slow down. The 4-hour time frame is starting to lose momentum. If you look at the MACD, we're about to get a bearish crossover. If this crosses, this could be like a head and shoulders, and we're going to see this thing start selling off to the 20 EMA at 448. My guts tells me it's going to pop. It's about 451, reject, and start selling off to 448. I think that's very likely for SPY. I think Apple is either going to help the market pop one more time for a small pop to 190 before it rejects and comes down, or the top is in and Apple's about to start sinking towards 185, the 185s. I think that's very probable. I think Apple's going to start slowing down a bit, and I think this is going to cause the market to sell off because Apple is very overbought. I think this is going to play a prominent role for Tesla as well, so I'm leaning more bearish for Apple for that reason. For Nvidia stock, okay, Nvda is about to get a bearish cross on the 4-hour PPO. We have a potential slanted head and shoulders developing right here, right? You can see that we have like a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder forming. I think this thing is going to sell off to about 485 very soon, but just to be safe, watch how it holds around 490. For $500 has been very, very strong resistance, so watch for a little pop before it drops to about 485 in my opinion. And then for the QQQ, I think that this is going to be dictated by Apple and also the other tickers, but Amazon is showing a little bit of strength, which could help this hold up a little bit better than SPY. It's showing a little bit more strength, but it's getting very close to a 4-hour bearish cross on the PPO. We also have a triple bearish divergence on the 30 minutes time frame, just like Apple and SPY. That tells me, so let me just show you what this divergence looks like. Look at the RSI and the MACD declining. You could freeze the video right here and just look at what our technicals are showing us. I think what's going to happen is we get a little pop. We retest like the 378s or so. Then we reject and we see this thing start sinking towards 375. That's what my gut is telling me. It may start as soon as tomorrow or Tuesday. That seems very, very probable. If you look at Microsoft, it already got the sell off. It got a bearish cross on the PPO. We just need the follow through. And I think it's going to hit 325 very, very soon. Looks more bearish to me as well. For a couple of other tickers, real quick, AMD is looking more bearish. We have a bearish cross potentially happening on the PPO as well. I think 102.5 should be tested as it's continuing to look weaker. Look for a little pop first before it drops. Maybe the unemployment numbers cause like a little pop first. And I think the market may sell off for Friday as it's going to be the last day before the weekend. The NASDAQ simultaneously at resistance. It's not really breaking out now. It's starting to show lots of chop at these higher levels. It may start to sell off a little bit to the 5 EMA at like 13,900 because of the sell-off. SPX is barely at 4,500. We got this bearish rejection right here. It could start selling off into the 4,480 area and dragging SPY down with it. The VIX has been selling off like crazy. In fact, it's very, very oversold at these levels. So with that potentially being the case, I mean, if it's this oversold, we're going to be watching this 13 uh, level very, very carefully to see if it bounces there or not. And then we're also going to be watching this 12.8 level simultaneously to see if we can try to like bounce around here. So there's going to be some important levels. We're going to see if this thing can bounce or not. I think it's approaching support around 12.8 to 13. It should bounce around there, so that's going to be very key. Anyways, for the dollar index, the dollar got to bounce off this 103 level. We're about to get a bullish cross on the 4-hour PPO. If this truly does end up happening, this thing starts pushing because of it. When we tend to get those bullish crosses on the 4-hour, we tend to see this thing start pushing. The dollar may start pushing higher to 104 plus. If the dollar approaches 104, which is going to be the next major resistance level, it's going to cause the market to sink, and it looks like the odds are starting to favor that. For Coinbase, if Coinbase ends up getting a bearish cross and we get the confirmation, which would be a break below the 50, if 79 fails this, we're going to be watching 78, then potentially 77.5. I think the odds favor this test right here, 78.5, then potentially 77.5. Google's looking more bearish. I think 135 is coming. If you look at the PPO, it's looking a little weak. We could be seeing the 135s very, very soon. For Amazon, we got a very, very nice looking push up thanks to the Shopify deal that was announced. That was some good news for them. We have a nice accumulation structure with the bullish divergence. We might see Amazon push a little bit. This could help the market hold up just a bit. I think 140 to 141 is going to be touched. We could see at least 140 or so. Then it rejects and starts to sell off a little bit with the market. Don't forget, we have an imbalance at 135. If it does reverse, 135 is going to be one of our targets if it breaks below like 137.5 or so. Meta has a potential bearish cross on the PPO forming. If that happens, we're going to be watching 290 then 285 to come very soon. So anyways, guys, that's what I have for this video. Make sure you watch those levels very carefully on Tesla. We want to be watching these levels just to see which way it's going to end up moving. To turn really bearish, you want to see it break below 255. If that happens tomorrow or Tuesday, that's going to be very probable. We have sell signals which are still valid on Tesla. So I just want everyone to be very careful. Watch for confirmation, be very careful, and just know that I am leaning more bearish on it, at least for the short term. But I'm going to be watching to see a little pop as we open before we potentially sell off. But I'm not going to turn super bearish until we break 255 or something like that. So just keep that in the back of your mind and just know that I'm still going to be cautious. I know there's more shorting going on with Tesla and some suspicious things. So be open-minded. If it manages to hold 260, right, my opinion could change. But as long as the bearish divergence remains, there's still going to be a high probability of it potentially selling off eventually. Okay, so I hope that's as clear as possible. Watch your levels carefully and just know what I am predicting. And please, please, please don't just like load up on like puts for no reason. Don't just load up on like calls for no reason whatsoever. You want to time those right by looking at some very, very good moments and to read your trends very carefully. Now, there is a potential bearish divergence forming. If this does end up playing out and Tesla starts selling, you want to wait for that confirmation of the break before you turn really bearish and start to load up on short positions. You don't want to just start shorting it for no reason. I want to make that as clear as possible. All right. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Tesla to the moon because the long term is still incredibly bright despite these short term fluctuations. And peace.